So are you on your phone right now, Devin?
Yeah, I'm on my phone, but I can't even understand what's going so bad.
Mm.
Let's see if headphones are up. Okay.
Is that any better?
No. Tommy, I didn't get to meet you all the way last time. I heard you speaking about it. I didn't really get to meet you.
Well, it's a pleasure, man. Yeah, I saw you from the little phone, I guess, last time. Much better this time.
Thanks. Where are you out of?
Right. I'm normally I grew up in Miami, but in Rexburg right now.
Are you? Cool.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
You?
I'm in Nashville. That's where I was born and raised.
Way cool, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. Cool, dude. Miami.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's a little different than here.
Sure.
Just a little bit.
Is it cold there yet?
I mean, there was like a cold day, but then it's been pretty warm lately, so I know it's gonna like hit back bad soon.
Gotcha. That's good. Adam, what were you saying about someone being late? Jackson?
Yeah, Jackson's gonna be a little late, so he said he's driving home right now, so he said just start without him.
Okay. So we're cool to start, or are we waiting on anyone?
Yeah, we can start.
Cool. Do you want me to say a prayer?
Yeah, sure.
Cool. Our dear Heavenly Father, we're grateful for this day and grateful for this chance we have to meet together for our business class. We ask for Thy Spirit to be with us. Help us to learn from the things that we're studying, these different case studies. We're grateful for the opportunity that we have to be going to college and getting a degree and learning and growing. Please help us to learn from our efforts, and we offer this prayer in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Cool. So Andreessen and Horowitz.
Yeah. Does anyone have
spiritual thought?
Does anyone have a spiritual thought today?
Yeah, I kind of read something this morning. I can share it if you guys want.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Awesome. Yeah, so I was reading, I kind of want to know a little bit more about the life of Christ. So I was reading in the book of Mark in the 5th chapter, and it's the story about that woman who touched part of his clothing, his garment. And in chapter 5, verse 33, it says, "But the woman, fearing and trembling, knowing what it was done in her, came and fell down before him, and told him the truth, and said unto her, and he said unto her, Daughter, thy faith hath made thee whole. Go in peace, and the whole of the whole thy plague." And I think it's kind of cool. You know, sometimes in life we're kind of not scared, but we're kind of, should we like say what we are? Like we're Christians, we're Mormons, we're Latter-day Saints, and I feel sometimes we might get a bad reputation because people don't like it anymore. The world's changing pretty fast, but I think only good can come of it. And it's something I want to fix in my life a lot.
Cool.
Yeah, I agree. Thanks for sharing that.
Thank you, guys.
Cool. So I guess let's get started. So far, So far, we have learned to evaluate business models of startups. Today, we will examine the business model decisions of a startup in a mature industry. As a group, begin by discussing the following questions. Was the venture capital industry attractive for Andreessen Horowitz to enter in 2009?
No, no,
Sorry.
wasn't it saying that the industry was pretty crummy and that they'd come up with poor returns for the past 10 or so years?
Yeah, I think what they were saying was the industry was shrinking because I guess in like the 90s and early 2000s, venture capitalism had a big boom.
Mm-hmm.
And then now, like towards 2010, started to decline because, well, I'm not sure exactly why.
Yeah, and they were saying that like 5% of the 3% of the companies made 95% of the revenue. So
Yeah. So there's like the top five firms made like 95% of the money.
yeah,
Venture cap.
Yeah. So probably not that attractive of a industry to enter in if only 5 of the companies are making all that money.
yeah,
Well, it's also hard to get that type of a reputation. I think that was kind of where the difficulty comes from.
Yeah.
Because those, like, everybody wanted the people who had the good reputation.
Yeah.
And they're just starting up, so that's where they kind of had to differentiate themselves.
Yep. So what was the competition like at the time? We already kind of talked about that.
Yeah.
What was the typical fate of the new entrants in this industry? So, yeah, kind of getting bullied and pushed out of the industry by the top 5 companies because they didn't have the name recognition, and
yeah,
they probably couldn't hold any clients because the bigger capitalist firms would just probably offer more money, to the startups, so they wouldn't go to any of the new companies.
Yeah.
And that's why it was so. What were the trends in venture capitalist fund performance during this time?
I think it was mediocre, right? It said that they, because they weren't really looking for, like really big ideas, they were just looking for things without flaw. And so they were missing the big ideas because they were going for kind of middle of the road, like safe bets.
Mm-hmm.
And so performance, or what does it ask for? Performance was just kind of mediocre. I mean, that was kind of my understanding. I don't know, what are you guys think?
yeah. I kind of talked about like Facebook. They had a pretty great idea, but they had some flaws, and little by little they were able to fix it. And look at them now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So look at strengths, and and like try to work on the weaknesses.
Yeah. I remember that when they said that you should always look for a strength instead of looking for weaknesses. Because you're always going to find weaknesses, but if you can find a couple of really good strengths, you can overcome everything else.
Yep.
All right, awesome. So with all the entrenched incumbents and catch-22s, what silver lining did Andreessen Horowitz see? So I think the silver lining they saw was, they were in Silicon Valley. There's a ton of IT companies starting that have like the brightest minds in the country, all the Harvard grads and Stanford grads who want to start businesses. A lot of them go to Silicon Valley. And so I think they saw a big opportunity for like high risk companies that, even though they were high risk, they had such smart people, like they knew that with the right guidance that they could make a really successful company. So I think that was the silver lining they saw in the industry.
Yeah. Yeah, they both came from tech backgrounds. Like they worked on Netscape and other things, so they knew their company. Like comparing it to the last case, they wanted to shoot everywhere, where these guys were narrow, and they knew they wanted to work with tech companies where they had some background there, so they had good focus and good experience there.
Yeah,
I agree. So how did
I also think?
Oh, go ahead, Devin.
I was just going to say part of part of their idea with the venture capital firm itself, and where they would be different from the other companies is their the way they worked with the entrepreneurs, rather than being kind of the where they I guess weren't all there and weren't much of a help or an assistance to them. They were an actual middleman between the right people and getting them connected and into the I don't know, just providing them with the tools for success.
Yeah, I agree.
And so that was kind of just something else I was thinking.
Yeah, I liked what you said, like, because they were customers of venture capitalism, and they were treated like, sometimes they weren't treated that great, and so they knew how they wanted to be treated. So they were like, oh, let's start a firm where we're respectful, we're always on time, we're not lazy or casual. So they were very professional, and like the CEOs really appreciated that, and so they found customers quick. And they themselves were already former CEOs or founders, and then they only hired former founders or CEOs of companies as their general partners. So everyone that works for that firm was very educated in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
So why is Andreessen Horowitz specifically targeting first-time technical co-founders? Well, because startup technical co-founders always need a lot of money to start, so that provides the demand for the venture capitalist.
Gotcha.
And what do you guys think?
Yeah, and I mean, in my opinion, I guess they were a little fresher. Like I saw the companies that they were going into, like Zynga and Instagram, and there were new ideas that hadn't been in the market. Like I was saying before, most companies thought that the internet was mostly taken, but we see that like back in the day, there was like 50 million users on the internet, and they thought that wow, that's like the whole market ever. But by the time they were making their business, there was 8.5 billion users. So I guess new people brought up new ideas that could be as big as Google and Facebook.
Yeah, no, I thought they saw a lot of room for expansion because of all those like great apps and social media that, I mean, millions and millions and millions of people use: Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter. So, still the IT industry is still expanding like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
So how is the cost of tech startups impacted? How has the cost of tech startups impacted the VC industry? Well,
Is that the part where they were talking about having like crowdfunding, like that kind of stuff? Is that like going along the same lines? Like how has the cost,
yeah,
because the internet and database and stuff, it's a lot cheaper now?
I think that's what they meant. Yeah, the crowdfunding. So a lot of companies don't need venture capitalists anymore to start because the internet is getting cheaper, and they're finding other ways to raise the money. Yeah, I remember reading that.
Cool.
So how has it impacted the need for technical co-founders to raise capital? It's impacted it by giving them different options, I think.
Yeah.
Because it's not totally out of their reach to, venture capitalists are not the only way anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They can do crowdfund, they can, a lot of the companies are even staying private for longer because they don't need to borrow the money yet.
Yeah, and now they can pick what venture capital to go down instead of just picking the first one that gives you an offer.
Yeah.
not all remains in their hands.
Yeah. So they were saying that
Yeah.
Andreessen Horowitz, they were saying like 9 or 10% of the business is trying to find companies to fund, and then 90% of the business is trying to get the right company to pick you.
Mm-hmm.
So now they're kind of like picking from the venture capitalists instead of the venture capitalists like coming to you.
Being the one selecting, yeah.
Yeah. Do these trends apply to other sectors such as life sciences or clean tech?
I think so. Like if you go to like Kickstarter and FundMe or any other website, there's a ton of them. Like for my other business class, we're looking at another website to use. And I was helping out this guy who wanted to build solar panels in Pakistan. So yeah, I think it works for everything now.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What choices do technical founders have for financing that they didn't have a decade before?
I think that's what we were just talking about.
Yeah, we just covered that.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. VC firms compete on their ability to source, pick, and win. How does Andreessen Horowitz's business model influence these abilities compared to other VC firms?
I think personally, I think it's like a night and day difference. The way they do it, because so their business model within the company is really cool. It talked about them having the same salary across the board. So then you don't have competition within the company and withholding information and spitefully whatever behind somebody's back or not helping or giving them mediocre assistance or whatever. It's all kind of all for one sort of a thing. Like we're all in this together, and it influences everybody together. So just as far as them being able to reach out and having a larger ability to help and assist their co-founder or whatever it is, or entrepreneurs they're helping, I think it allows them to have a greater reach than any of the other VC firms.
Yeah, and all the general partners are directly involved with the new companies. Like they each only have 10 startup companies that they are over. Like that's the maximum, I think. So that means like every week the GP is going to visit each startup company and discuss with them like decisions. So they're very involved. And like you said, everyone's on the same team because it's not so commission based. So people aren't withholding different customers, and like everyone's trying to help each other land accounts.
Yep.
Which is way different than all the other venture capitalists.
Definitely.
Because it sounded like all the other firms were kind of like they're always empty, and none of them really talk to each other because they were all like hunting for accounts by themselves, and they didn't really. It was like a kind of like a backstabbing industry or something.
Yeah. So
Jackson's here.
What's up, guys? Sorry I'm late. Traffic on Fridays absolutely suck.
I bet.
Yeah.
Sorry, but I'm here.
So we're on number 4 in the discussion.
Okay.
So far. All right. So think of source as the ability to get founders to come in the door seeking money. How does the way Andreessen Horowitz treats its founders differ from the way a traditional venture capitalist treats them? I think we talked about that already too. Just like being on time, not being too casual, and being very like not telling them that they need a new CEO, but they want the founder to remain the CEO. So I think that had a good impact on the way like startup companies saw them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I remember.
I also.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, sorry. No, go ahead.
Okay.
You
I was
go.
just gonna. I wrote down one of the. It said they had three kind of rules within their company about how they dealt with people or the businesses they wanted to get involved with. It said they're scalable, and then it talked about Andreessen and Horowitz, that like what they wanted to offer. It said that their efforts would be structured and as a set of multi-sided platforms, so they're going to be assistants on different levels. But then it also said they want to be helpful to the technical founders, but not serve as a crutch. And that's kind of what I was going into with that question. Was they want to be assistants, but not be, making the decisions for them or whatever. They just want to give them the tools and help them get into the growth and the I don't know, help them succeed.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna bring that up. Yeah, how if they would just help out the company once they would leave, what would happen to the company? And also, I like that when they had to reject the company, they would give them all the points why like they were gonna take them. So people actually wanted to go to them because they were a good help, not just like a whole bunch of snobs. Like, no, we're gonna reject you, and that's it. Like, they're really professional and polite how they did their business.
Yeah. Yeah, I like how whenever they did reject a company, they always gave them reasons why, and they didn't just not call them back,
Yeah.
which I think that gave them a really good reputation just by being courteous. So will this increase, decrease, or have no effect on the number of potential deals Andreessen Horowitz sees compared to the competition? So obviously it will increase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. How will this change if Andreessen Horowitz begins to fire CEOs because they are not performing well? Will this increase, decrease, or have no effect on the number of potential deals that they see compared to the competition?
Yeah, I definitely believe that it will decrease the number of deals or that they can have with investors and whatnot, just because a company's culture is driven by the CEO. And so it's the CEO that has the vision of where the company's going. And so if they fire a CEO and bring on another one, it could potentially be another CEO that I guess has the same the same vision, but I mean, where I work at, they just recently fired the CEO. It's probably like 5 or 6 months ago, and a lot has changed since. And so I definitely think it would have an effect on the numbers, and it could potentially increase or decrease. It just kind of depends.
Yeah, I like one of the exhibits in the bottom showed like they had a example of all the companies that they had the founder slash CEO, and some of those like respectable companies had a founder CEO. So I thought that was pretty cool.
I think in the case, I'm pretty sure it talked about how let's see, I may have misunderstood the question here. Number of potential decisions. Okay, so yeah, other VC firms, I think they do exactly that. So I think if they started firing CEOs, they'd be like the other firms. I don't know that it would make them see less than the other firms, but I think it would make them just like the other firms, where they don't care about the CEO or whatever. They just want to put somebody in that they think is going to be successful.
Yeah. I mean, I think they just have to be smart about the way, if they're not happy with the way the CEO is performing and they fire him or her, they just kind of have to be careful about the way they do it, because if they have a good reason to fire the CEO or whatever, I'm sure the other startups would understand, like, hey, this guy's not performing well and he's not seeing, like, I don't know, I guess the right vision for the company.
Yeah.
And maybe that will scare other CEOs away, but I don't think it would, as long as they do it in the right way.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. So how does the operating team help Andreessen Horowitz source, pick, and win? How does it increase the odds of getting more high-quality deal flow?
I don't know.
So the operating team, they go to different universities and they kind of like research what startups in the IT industry are like kind of popping up, and they kind of tell, don't they just like report back on what startups they've like taken a look at and tell them if they have any potential?
Yeah, I think that was kind of what we had kind of talked about earlier, where they talked about seeing the big ideas instead of like, and obviously they're going to have flaws, so they're not looking for an idea without flaws. They're looking for big ideas though.
Mhm.
And so I think that's, I agree with you there.
So the main places they were going were colleges, I think. I don't
Yeah.
know where
And
else.
I mean, they lived in Silicon Valley, so I guess they were like right next door to all these startups
Yeah.
on the West Coast.
Yeah, and I think also with that, it says the question is like, how does the operating team help the company source, pick, and win? And one of the things that they mentioned was that they didn't want to just pick up or invest money in startup companies. Rather, they wanted to become the Silicon Valley hub for companies and people. So it wasn't so much just like they just didn't want to pick up everybody and just try and gain, as much money as possible, but they wanted to create a community. And so I think that's where a lot of their success came from, was picking the right people, not just picking up anybody that, had cash in their pocket.
Huh. Also, they were getting a lot of references by their people they were already funding.
Oh yeah.
They did get a lot of references to companies that already had got funding, and then they would tell Andreessen Horowitz whenever they had friends that were doing a startup that they thought was a good idea, and that way they got business too. All right. Does that increase the odds of getting more high quality deal flow? Yes, of course it does. So why does it help increase the high quality deal flow?
I think the way they're treating the other companies, and then it also talked about them going out for help or something like that, but there was like no strings attached. It was just like, awesome, like thanks for the help. And it said that other companies were more likely to assist or whatever in other endeavors. And so I think the way they interacted with other businesses, as well as the people, they're the entrepreneurs they're working with, I think that's why it creates a higher quality because of the way they're treating and the way they're respected in the industry.
Does it affect their ability to pick winners?
I mean, I think it would. With higher quality, they'd be able to have a higher rate of people that would be willing or that'd be able to succeed. And so I think, with a higher quality, the turnover would be a lot lower. So
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah, I think so too. So does it actually have any impact on the odds of success for Andreessen Horowitz portfolio companies? If so, how? If not, why do you think that?
I mean, it's just, this company has, this portfolio of companies with several that they're investing in. So, if 9 out of the 10 are like high quality and you would imagine that 9 out of the 10 would be able to succeed and win. And so if that 9 out of the 10 companies does well, then so will Horowitz company. It's just a matter of it's just kind of with any business. If you have good customers or good sales reps that do really well, then you'll succeed. And so I think it's the same with Horowitz.
I also think that when you if you have the right tools and the right help, especially in a startup, it makes your odds of succeeding much greater. And I think that's what they're offering, and that's what the difference between them and other VC firms is their ability to assist and their commitment to help, and then just their corporate structure. I think all of those kind of things that we've already discussed are the reasons why they have higher or their what do they call them? Their portfolio companies, that they have higher odds of success because of their assistance that they're ready and able to offer.
Yeah, I think it makes a big difference because all of their general partners are so experienced because they're all CEOs and former founders of the companies, and then they're, like you said, Devin, they're super involved in the startups day-to-day operations. So they're really increasing their odds of success just by being so involved with the right experienced staff. All right. So put yourself in the shoes of Andreessen and Horowitz. You must decide whether or not to seek to double your assets under management. Vote as a group. The decision must be unanimous. Consider the following as you decide. How many portfolio companies can one general partner reasonably support? So that was 10, I believe. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So 10 companies per GP. Are there any economies of scale in this business? Does anyone know? I don't know.
Economies of scale.
No,
I'm not even sure what that means.
I don't know.
So this is what I'm thinking. So the economies of scale, meaning the more, well, I think is what it's talking about is the people that you've got there, are they able to offer, is having more portfolio companies in your basket, is that doable, or does it diminish your returns? And so I think my assumption here is you've got a set amount of GPs right now, and if you double your asset, or whatever, I guess maybe my understanding of doubling the asset, that means you've got more money to spend on new startups. And so if you do that, then your guys get spread thin. And so my guess is efficiency drops. That's just kind of my I guess the way I'm seeing it, or
Yeah.
I don't know, kind of.
So economy of scale is a proportionate saving in costs gained by an increased level of production. So basically it's saying, are there any, like within this business that they have with gaining portfolio companies, if they gain more, are they going to be saving costs by gaining more?
Yeah, I remember reading they had a few companies that gave them a lot of their money. Like when they sold Skype to Microsoft, they made like fourfold. And I think they just need to focus on the best ones they can get instead of just throwing money everywhere. I mean, just a few bad investments can take everything down. And if you start spreading thin or getting new general partners that aren't as good as the ones you have, you're going to have a scarcity and going to really start hurting your own business.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with Tommy too.
Yeah. I mean, with regards to this type of business, it's not necessarily a production based where you want to minimize the cost. You can minimize costs by gaining more portfolio companies. So I don't think there's any economy of scale in this business.
Just because every startup that you fund is a risk. So
Yeah,
adding more
And-
risks isn't going to cut costs. It's going to give you more chance of losing money.
yeah. And in addition, if you hire more,
GPs,
or if you have more, you have to hire more employees. So it's not, it's
they
in
had a
fact
really
increasing costs.
they had a really tight business model too, with like the way they communicated with each other. And I think being all in Silicon Valley helped them to keep it that way. Just because they want all their GPs to be founders, CEOs, and they want all their GPs to be able to, make regular visits to those companies. And if they're spread thin, they get more portfolios. They're not going to be able to be as involved in all those different businesses.
Yeah.
So the quality of their like interaction between the businesses is going to go down.
I agree.
All right. So will you have to hire more operating team people? If so, will the
Yes.
partners actually make more money for doubling their assets, or will all of the additional profits go to hire more people?
Well, they were saying that they hired like the people they were really tight with. So I guess they're gonna have to start hiring people they're not as close with. So, I mean, I think that's a risk more than a reward for them.
I would
All
agree.
the additional profits
Yep.
go to hire more.
I don't know if all of the additional profits would go to the hiring more people, but probably a lot, and too much to be worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, because in all honesty, it's like out of the additional portfolio companies they have, they're going to have to hire X amount of operating people on the team. And so, I mean, you'd have to, there isn't that many companies where they are able to sell it for such a large amount like Skype. And so the chances of that happening are slim. Like, yeah, they'll be able to like get more businesses and hire more people, but I think a majority of the profits that they get will go to hiring the people.
Yeah. So what I think they should do is stay in Silicon Valley, because in one of the exhibits, it was showing all the different firms, and there was only two of them that were on there were in New York City, and they were they did some of the least amount of funding out of all those firms.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's going to be that many startups in New York City that they're going to be interested in, especially for information technology.
Mm-hmm.
Silicon Valley is way better for that type of thing.
Yeah, I think it's the hub. So
Yeah, and they can even expand into clean tech and biotech if they want to in Silicon Valley. But I don't even think they need to do that.
You just double down on what you know best.
yeah. I do think their business model, though, as far as hiring GPs just from the industry, and then working as a team, I think you could duplicate that in the other industries. So if it's something that like, hey, we've got billions of dollars and we want to try to do the same thing in a different area, I think they could duplicate it. So
Cool.
just my thoughts there.
Okay.
Should we do a summary?
Yeah.
Sure.
Cool.
You're talking about summary of
It's
what
like
we just talked about in total?
summarize our decision or whatever.
Oh, yeah. I think decision is don't double the assets. There's no reason to add more portfolio companies, or whatever the thing is. They've got a good system here, and yeah, there's no point in venturing out to different parts of the world because they're at the hub of where people want to go for venture capital help in their industry.
I mean, can you imagine working in China, like all the different rules and how they work? Like, if anything, New York at the most, but I think they should just stick to where they're at.
Yeah, me too.
Mhm. All right.
Okay.
Is that everything?
Yeah, I think so.
So I guess we need to vote. I guess that was the vote.
Is everyone unanimous?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sweet. So we want to meet
Awesome.
Wednesday again?
Yeah.
Let's do
That
it.
works.
All right.
Is there any way we could push it back to 4:30 on Fridays?
Not a
Yeah,
problem.
that's fine.
Yeah,
Okay.
no problem. Well, I might have to kick out a little bit quicker. I've got another group that meets at it would be 5 o'clock your time.
Okay.
And so if we could do it in 30 minutes, I'm totally down for.
I think usually
Okay.
usually we
Busting
do about 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Cool.
If we just all log on and start the conversation at 4:30,
Yeah.
we should be good.
We're
Awesome.
getting faster
I'm
at
totally
we're
cool
getting
with that.
faster at it now, so
Okay.
all right, cool. Thanks guys. What time we want to do on Wednesday?
Just normal time. What
Yeah.
I forget what time we.
Is
Last
it
one's
6 your time or is it 7 your time?
Right now it is 5.
No, I'm talking about Wednesday.
I think-
Wasn't it?
I think it was at
Didn't we say
7.
7 for you guys?
7?
7.
7
yeah.
Mountain,
Yeah.
Okay.
7 Mountain
Yeah.
Standard. All right, cool.
Okay. See you then.
Take care,
All right.
guys.
Bye guys.
Okay, see ya.